In his recovery. You may remember we told you yesterday a second woman now says that an Oklahoma lawmaker behaved in an inappropriate manner towards her. Well, last night that lawmaker tendered his resignation. News 4 Spencer Humphrey tells us how Representatives John Waldron's colleagues in the legislature are responding.
Well, less than 24 hours after we broke this story, a second woman is now accusing State Representative John Waldron of inappropriate behavior. Waldron announcing he is stepping away from his job.
Representative Waldron, would you have a sec?
That was State Representative John Waldron Wednesday walking away from us as we tried to ask him about now multiple women saying he behaved inappropriately toward them.
We want to talk to you about your decision not to run for re-election.
Non-Doc reporting last week, Waldron admitted he resigned as chair of the state Democratic Party following a complaint he sent a woman an AI-generated picture depicting him kissing her. Waldron saying he didn't mean to send the picture. After that came to light, on Monday, Waldron announced he would no longer seek re-election this November. And then on Wednesday, we reported a second woman says Waldron behaved inappropriately toward her. That woman telling us Waldron made an unwanted physical advance on her in a professional setting. Then on Thursday, just hours after we broke that story, Waldron submitting this letter of resignation to Governor Stitt, announcing he'll be stepping away from his seat effective October 1st, only a few months shy of what would have already been the end of his term anyway. On Thursday, House Democratic leader Cindy Munson telling us Waldron remains suspended from the House Democratic caucus and will remain suspended through the effective date of his resignation. Munson also telling us in part, I take all allegations of misconduct seriously and I took swift action in contacting and working alongside the victim to hold Representative Waldron accountable. Victims deserve privacy, justice, and accountability, and every decision made regarding this situation prioritize that. I want to make it very clear that Representative Waldron was asked multiple times by caucus leadership to step down and not seek re-election. He was told should he seek re-election, he would not receive caucus support. Munson's equivalent in the Senate telling us similar Thursday.
I was part of the group that respected the victim's wishes in seeking his resignation. I think we respect victims. We're listening. I absolutely respect and listen to victims and want to support the wishes of victims. So, very much take that seriously. And I think you'll see that certainly in my Democratic counterparts.
It's unclear right now if Waldron will keep his House committee assignments for the remaining month or so of the current legislative session. House Speaker Kyle Hilbert says he's waiting for all the facts.
We hold our members to a high standard because we are the representatives of the people, and those actions were not acceptable that he has admitted to. And if there is anything else going on, certainly would want to know any other allegations or anything along those lines and take that through a process of vetting any of those charges.
In Oklahoma City, Spencer Humphrey, Oklahoma's News 4.
All right, Spencer, appreciate that. Thank you. Spencer did try to speak with several Democratic lawmakers about Waldron's resignation. They referred all requests for a comment to Munson's statement, with the exception of Democratic Representative from Amanda Clinton. She said that I am pleased that Representative Waldron has chosen to resign from the House of Representatives, although an October 1 effective date suggests a continued lack of personal responsibility. Also adding, is one of countless women who have experienced sexual harassment in a professional setting. I desperately long for a day when this behavior no longer exists.